Good day, and welcome to the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation 100&Change Q&A webinar. Today's webinar is being recorded. At this time, I would like to turn the conference over to Lynn Van Deventer. Please go ahead.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining this Q&A webinar today. I just have a few housekeeping items. The first one is, as you heard, the session is being recorded. We'd also like to ask that you ask your questions via the chat box. So any questions that you have at any time during the presentation, please enter them in the chat box. We just have a brief agenda today. In just a few minutes, I will be turning things over to Cecilia Conrad, who will give a brief introduction, and then I will turn things over to my colleague Jordan Blumhart, who will provide a demonstration of this application process, including some tips and tricks of completing the application. And then we'll really spend the bulk of the time answering your questions. So again, please enter those questions in the chat box. And then the last item on the agenda is that we'll wrap up and give you some reminders about deadlines. First of all, we are going to do our best today to answer as many of your questions as possible. However, if we are not able to answer your question, you can still get it answered by submitting it to questions@100&change.org. Again, that email address is questions@100&change.org. The other thing I'd like to please note for everyone is that the submission deadline for your application is next Tuesday, August 6th at 11 a.m. Central. Please note that is at 11 a.m. Central in the morning on Tuesday, August 6th. That is a firm deadline. I also want to encourage all of you to not wait until the last minute to start your application. Please do not wait until the last minute to submit your application. And please do not wait till the last minute to ask us questions that you might have. Our team is standing by to respond to your questions, but we want to be able to get as many of them answered in advance of the submission deadline, which again is Tuesday, August 6th at 11 a.m. Central. And with that, I'd like to turn things over to Cecilia Conrad.
Good afternoon. And welcome to our second webinar. As Lynn said, we have basically not quite a week left to finish your application, so I hope that you are all making good progress. As you know, 100&Change is a MacArthur Foundation initiative where we are searching for a single project that will receive a $100 million grant. And we want the project to solve a problem, take a big slice of a problem, or unlock the resources required to solve a problem. We've asked that the project meet 4 criteria. The first is that it be impactful. And we've defined impactful to include something that might impact a large number of people, but also something that might impact a smaller geography or a number of people or population, but it has a very deep impact on them. So impact here can mean both breadth or depth. The second criteria is that it be evidence-based. This is not a competition to test out a new idea or to do basic research or clinical trials. We are looking for projects that have persuasive evidence that if you can implement a solution effectively, that it will have the impact that you've identified, that will address the problem that you've identified. The third criteria is that it be feasible. And here we're looking both at, does your team